Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 7th Esports World Championship. My name is Reese Rappapelt, joined once again by Justin Song. How are you doing, Justin?
I'm doing fine, thank you. It's great to be here for the second day. Again, best of luck to LS, who's been sick for recently, but I'm filling in, having this great opportunity, so
it's good to be back here, Justin, and it's good to have everyone else out there back, ready for day number 2 of IESF 2015 7th World Championship, and we're all the way into our quarterfinal matches.
Yeah, quarterfinals, and we have first match here, China versus Russia, and both teams advanced 3-0, crushing their individual groups.
Yeah, absolutely incredible performances. And if you haven't had the pleasure of watching those games, definitely make sure to go back, check out the VODs. China specifically was a team that we didn't get a chance to broadcast yesterday, but I was able to catch one of their games, and their individual prowess over the course of the lane phase, absolutely spectacular. So it's going to be interesting to see them play off against the semi-pro talent in the Russian team, who, to their credit, are some of the best players not only in their region, but also in many of the competitive leagues that we've seen them play in before. So it's going to be exciting to watch that as our first matchup. And of course, immediately following that, we'll have Israel facing off against Switzerland. And man, those games yesterday were so neck and neck, and we've got a lot to talk about there, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, so just to make a little bit of correction, Russia did not advance 3-0. They advanced 2 wins and 1 loss to Korea, but they're still looking a very strong team from the games that we watched yesterday.
Right, you can see those scores that you just mentioned there on your screen. It was a 2-1 advancement from Russia, with the Philippines and Indonesia unable to make it out of their group. And of course, Korea advancing 3-0. Korea's won IESF for the last 3 years in a row, so it'll be exciting to see how far they go this time. Of course, moving over to the teams for our for our first game of the day, you can see China advancing out of Group C 3-0. Romania, of course, 2-1 following them, and unfortunately Australia and Tunisia unable to make it out of Group C. Group A advances Israel and Serbia, and we'll get a chance to see Israel a little bit later on versus Switzerland. Of course, Thailand making out of Group B along with Switzerland, South Africa and Iran unable to advance. So that's a summary of the groups from yesterday. Hope you guys were able to catch those games and enjoy the broadcast yesterday, but it's only going to get more exciting from there, because now we see the brackets for the round of 8.
I'm really excited for all the matchups, especially the first match we have, because we never had the chance to see China before in this broadcast. So I'm wondering what they're going to bring to the table at this time around.
That's right. When I was actually doing research for Team China, you can see is going to be facing off against Russia, and then of course immediately following that we'll have Israel versus Switzerland's Dead Pixels. But yeah, China recently, I'm not sure how recently, but it's the sort of sub-squad for, or not sub-squad, but secondary team for Vici Gaming. So that's going to be really exciting to see them face off against TrinityWorld from Russia. A lot of ex-CIS talent there, and of course Israel facing off against Dead Pixels. Switzerland advancing 3-0 out of their group as well. Really dominant play to be expected from that matchup. And of course, you can see our matchups for our first game of the day. It's going to be China versus Russia, and see NRF up there in the top lane versus Blorn. Then Destra and WZT going to be playing off against Irugat, Even versus Eka, Avenger versus Darker, and then Teacher versus Faceless. And of course, Avenger, also the name of, I believe, TNT before he changed it. So looks like we've got another Avenger there. Maybe they can form a team of League of Legends superheroes who,
maybe a little bit of homage to one of the better AD carries in China right now.
Definitely a big fan if you guys have gotten the chance to watch your fair share of LPL, but it's going to be exciting to watch the representatives of China here today facing off against Russia. And now the Russian team, you got a chance to see them yesterday. We were able to broadcast some of their games, and let's just say it was pretty impressive to see what their talent was able to bring out. Specifically Blorn, Zerelia top lane, absolutely dominant. So expect to see maybe some bans or more pressure put on that role just because of the big effect that it did have in yesterday's games.
I mean, that's one of the bigger things about having a large champion pool, is that you can get target banned, and that's taking a ban away from them that they might want a necessary ban in terms of their pick and ban composition. So it's great that Blorn showed so much talent in the last game that was played, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do in this time around.
Right, and one of the big things that we noticed from the opening preliminary stages that were broadcast yesterday is that teams really came in trying to run their own strategies. They're like, hey, we have this niche pick, this thing that's that's unique to our region. But then, unfortunately, as the games drew on, you saw that sometimes they would go for a unique strategy, but it just didn't stand up in the face of the current meta. We're on a new 5.23 patch, so there's a lot of changes there, and it's going to be interesting to see how these teams adjust after having had a day to play 3 games versus some of the other teams here, and a chance to check them out. And I was actually talking to the Australian representatives from yesterday, and it was really impressive to see how much research, how much work they put into looking up the champion pools, the strategies that some of these other teams were running. And it's certain that the Chinese and Russian teams here put in a lot of work into researching their opponents. So after a day of preliminary games, you kind of got a chance to readjust to the surroundings, get yourself in your comfort zone. It's going to be really exciting to see how these teams have developed after a day of play.
Yeah, like I mentioned yesterday before, there's specific metas to a specific patch, but there's also a specific meta to the individual tournaments that we play. And it's really great that these teams are trying to adapt. There's a lot of information out there. That's the great thing about League of Legends. You can see what individual players are playing in their solo queue games, which can directly translate into their actual competitive gaming. So I think that's very exciting.
I'm certainly very excited to see it. It looks like we are working on getting the players into the lobby for our first game of this Day 2, the 7th Esports World Championship. And once again, this is going to be our first best of 3. Now the matches are best of 3, so we've got a little bit of a series idea, and yeah, it's definitely a change from yesterday where you just had one game to play off against a region, and then you moved on to the next one. But now you've got a series, you've got a best of 3, so if you make mistakes, if you let through some power picks in game 1, you can adjust that to game 2 and look to come back.
Yeah, that's the biggest aspect about having BO3 games instead of BO1 is how much can you adapt between individual games, because teams bring specific comps to teams plan specific comps coming into individual games, but things might change drastically as the games go on. So I want to see how the pick bans changes and how the team composition changes throughout the entire series.
Exciting to watch these games unfold yesterday. One of the biggest things that I was impressed with yesterday is how you can have nations that are coming to represent, their country and offer a lot of individual talent. And when they get here, I was talking to some of the South African players, and they were just like, we're super excited that we get to play on this huge stage. But the biggest thing for them was that they just had a strong showing for their country. You're coming to IESF here in Seoul, South Korea, and really have a lot on the line here. You're representing your country in front of all these fans, in front of all viewers watching, and it's just really important to have strong showings. And even though they didn't win the game that we broadcast yesterday, still very good showing for them. They came out, they tried their hardest. It was really evident to see that there's a lot of strength there in that region. And here we're seeing China face off against Russia, two countries that have very well-developed esports scenes. If you've gotten a chance to watch the LPL or LSPL there in China, incredibly strong leagues, some of the best talent in the world. And of course, in CIS, if you've watched any of their Star Ladder series, it's just incredible to see what kind of talent that region offers.
And Russia has been known to produce a great amount of talent recently. Well, not recently, but throughout the history of League of Legends. If you remember M5 back in the day, one of the best teams in the league, and they were composed of all Russian players, or most Russian players. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do in this game as a CIS team come into a tournament like this.
Right, it's actually interesting that you mentioned M5. We've actually got Darker playing AD carry for TrinityWorld from Russia. He's actually the ex-support for Gambit Gaming, the sort of spiritual successors of M5. So it's pretty exciting to see kind of the legacy still alive here today as TrinityWorld look to take on their Chinese opponents.
Yeah, and then the M5 in general has been known as the Eastern Slayers, dominating Chinese teams and Korean teams even back when it wasn't very common to do so. So I'm excited.
Definitely exciting. Watch these teams play. off against each other. I'm super excited to be here. Woke up this morning, I was like, yeah, time to go cast some esports. Stepped outside, and it's actually snowing absolutely everywhere outside. So if you're in Seoul, definitely be a little bit careful, but it's nice to see a little bit more of a Christmas feel to all of this. Definitely feels pretty great, unless you're Justin driving here, and then you definitely got to be kind of careful.
What he's trying to talk about is I'm actually got into a car accident on my way here this morning. I mean, it was minor, but I ended up being a little bit late. Drive safely, everyone. This is sort of a PSA announcement right now.
All right, looks like we are about to get into champion picks and bans here, so just waiting on the players to get into the lobby, and then we should have our first game of this first best of 3 coming your way. I'm really excited to see this. I was trying to stay up last night and do a little bit of research about these Chinese teams, and it's actually just incredible to see what they've been able to accomplish. If I'm not mistaken, I was reading a Score esports article on IESF and on the Chinese team, and their top laner actually used to be on GAMT, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of experience between these players, and while I'm not familiar with very many of the other players there on the Chinese team, it's just incredible to watch such a very strong esports region come here and you look to dominate the League of Legends tournament here at IESF.
Yeah, one of the things I want to mention about this Chinese team is they have a very young roster. They're mostly in their late 10s, but we have one player, Avenger, who's around like 5 to 7 years older than all the other players, probably the team captain. So I want to see how he leads the team with the more experience that he has under his belt.
Yeah, and interesting that you mentioned player ages. I think one of the Korean players is actually like 16, although I think that's 16 in Korean age, which is calculated a little bit differently than the rest of the world. So definitely some very young, very talented players here today, specifically Korea. It's interesting to see how their esports infrastructure is fueled, not just their the esports teams that you get a chance to see, but also FOG or FOG, the Korean team that's representing them here at IESF. They qualified through a PC Bong tournament that goes through different sections of the country, and then they compete for a chance to represent Korea here at IESF. And I was hanging around the venue after most of the teams had left, and as the rest of the teams are filing out of the venue, I walked upstairs, and the Korean team is still practicing, still getting in that studying, ready for today's games. It looks like we actually might be ready to get into those games here in just a second. So ready to get into Champion Select here in just a second. And man, I'm so excited for this. China versus Russia, 2 of the strongest performances that we saw in day number 1. Here we go into Champion Picks and Bans, getting them started right away. Here we go. You can see the first ban there on your screen. Lulu from Team China, of course, on the left-hand side in the blue, and then on the right in the red, it's going to be TrinityWorld from Russia. There you can see the support teacher for China. He's already banning away a support champion, but of course he doesn't have to be played the support role. You can see that just about anywhere, and definitely a very researched Gangplank ban first off the list there for TrinityWorld.
Lulu ban, I've talked about it a couple of times. Lulu is a very strong champion in this meta just because of her flex possibilities that you can run both top and mid, and even support, as you have mentioned. Gangplank also a very strong champion, has a huge power spike in terms of the team composition when he hits level 6, when he can pull up 4v2 dives or make 3v3s into 4v3s, and we're seeing an Irelia target ban for Blorn.
Yeah, no surprises there. I think I mentioned that yesterday when it was picked up. If you've ever seen Blorn, back from his days when he used to play on Mouse Sports, huge Irelia player, and had a huge Irelia yesterday. Not going to see that power pick go through. So once again, a nice target ban coming in there out of the Chinese team.
Yeah, and this is also great for Team Russia as well if they're taking away his what they think is their biggest champion, and that's literally trying to limit his champion pool, so he's taking bans away from the team. We're seeing a Kindred bet come in from purple side right now, a very top tier jungler. That means we're left with Elise, could be a first pick in this game since the Jax was banned for the third. So 2 top bans coming in. or maybe 3 top bans. So very target banning Bjorn right now.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see so much focus there put against Bjorn, just because he has been a really big carry from the top lane, and especially in this current meta that rewards carry top laners. Nice to see so much focus put up there, but oh man, immediate recognition of the Dr. Mundo pick open. And while Elise is one of, if not the strongest jungler available right there, or right now, turns out Dr. Mundo, he's pretty good at jungling now too.
Yeah, he can be run both top and jungle. You can run him with Smite Flash, Smite Exhaust for more kill pressure. He has very fast clear, also has very good ganking, and can 1v1 very well in the jungle too. So very strong pick right now. At least, of course, the next best option if you're going to take a second rotation. I'm excited to see what we're going to see here. Maybe a support pick, Soraka.
Okay, there is Soraka coming in there. So I've talked to a lot of pro players about their opinions on Soraka. Usually they just turn around, laugh at me, and walk out of the room because they're just like, that champion is so strong this meta, especially with the changes to Grievous Wounds, means that healing is still coming in. Now that's going to strengthen their duo lane down there in the bottom lane or top if they decide to go for a lane swap here. But it's interesting to see with a very strong Dr. Mundo power pick, how China's really going to play around that. Anytime you get a big super tank up there, either in the jungle or in the top lane, it's nice to have some power behind it, and it looks like Avenger is thinking about grabbing that Tristana as the AD carry pick of choice for VG Gaming.
Tristana has been a very contended pick throughout this entire tournament. Been picked Lucian and Tristana especially. Those 2 champions has been picked a lot in this game. I think teams prioritize it because of our late game scaling potential and our ability to jump in and out of fights and the resets.
Yeah, and it's Tristana Alistar. So if you're looking to jump in, if you're looking to go in, that is the combo that you want. Really incredible, strength in lane. You hit level 2, you go for that all in. That's some devastation. But also interesting to note that because you're running that combo, if you can burst down champions like Soraka, who likes to stay back, play that support role, heal up her AD carry, if you don't play that long sustain game and just go for exploding either Soraka or her AD carry, turns out healing's less effective when the champion's dead. So might be the burst combo they're looking for there.
AD carry is probably going to get picked here with Nard, of course, very strong against health champions. Champions that stack a lot of health, but Vayne also very good against because of the % health damage. But now we're seeing Fiora come here, so Mundo might be able to be run as jungle. But a lot of potential.
If they lock in that Fiora, it'd be interesting to see where all of these champions are going, because that would suggest a Fiora top lane with a Dr. Mundo jungle, and the Ryze being hovered over here as a possible mid lane pick there for even. Now, if the Ryze goes mid, it doesn't know exactly what you're playing that Ryze into, and Ryze traditionally, one of the big weaknesses is immobility early on, and with Elise ganks coming out of the jungle with that cocoon, you lock down Ryze early, that can be the key to shutting him down and preventing him from being a late game powerhouse. But it's not locked in just yet. They've got a few seconds to think about it, but it does look like that Fiora is going to be the top lane pick to get locked in.
Echo might be coming in, also a great pick, but Ryze itself is one of the champions that I've been questioning coming into this tournament, why it's constantly getting through. But I feel like teams generally don't feel it's the strongest, or they think it doesn't fit their comp, but I don't know.
So there's a possible versatility here with Echo. You could always have Echo go for the jungle, but Dr. Mundo top lane and then Fiora mid, or swap that around in some weird ways, but most likely that's going to be an Echo mid for even.
Since the nerfs to the flat damage on Echo, but increased AP ratio on a lot of his abilities, he's no longer being used as a tank. He's building Cinderhulk in the jungle, but mostly in the mid lane or even in the top lane. Build pathing around AP damage.
So in response to this Dr. Mundo, once again, depending on where it's going to go, we're thinking about a Vladimir for Bjorn up in the top lane. Now, I was looking...
Or mid lane, since we have Gnar.
Right, I was thinking about some of the versatility there. Now, one of the things that Russia liked to do yesterday is flex the top lane pick or save it for last. So I was looking for the last pick, and this time around, they haven't actually saved it for last. They've saved the mid lane pick for last, so some questions there, and it's going to be Vladimir in the mid lane here. So what do you think about Vladimir mid? We certainly don't see that as a very common champion pick, but why has Eka grabbed that here?
I think it's for champions like Mundo right now. Very good passive Vlad has, and just her kit itself. Very hard to gank a Vlad lane in general also, even though they don't really have a jungler that has a lot of ganking pressure compared to other champions. it's also a very safe laner, and then does tons of damage in the end. So very highly scaling, team fight oriented team coming out from purple side, from Team Russia here. And look, in terms of Team China, in terms of their competence, I feel like they took a very strong picks overall in general.
So exciting to see the final picks locked in for both teams. For China, they've got a little bit of a new pick there in Echo, and I guess a new pick in Dr. Mundo jungle too. It's the first time we've seen that this tournament, but it's the first time for a reason, because it's been banned every single game. So we're about to see the power of Dr. Mundo jungle. Also cannot understate that Fiora top lane. It's going to be exciting, so let's go ahead and prepare ourselves for game number 1 in our first best of 3 of the night. It's going to be Team China versus Trinity Force from Russia. It's going to be exciting, I know, at least for me. Hopefully you guys are ready for some exciting League of Legends here at the 7th Esports World Championship in Seoul, South Korea. Here we go, loading in onto the Rift. Should be ready to get this game underway. Hope everybody else out there is ready to go. It looks like we're going to have a brief pause to start things out. Going to give us some time to, reach our inner calm, prepare ourselves, calm before the storm, kind of like that. I wish I had this moment yesterday, because the first game that we wound up casting yesterday was absolutely insane. There was 9 kills in 9 minutes and even more after that. But this time around, it should be a little bit more calculated between both teams now that they've had to see other teams play and get that research under their belts, just from gathering information about champion pools, power levels, what you can really expect. So a lot of research coming into this game today, and it's going to be exciting to see how well that pays off for both teams.
And I have to mention some quarterfinals. These teams are generally more refined than some of the teams that we've been seeing yesterday. They have wins under their belt. That means they know how to win. They know what it takes to win. They know what their strengths and weaknesses are. So I'm hoping to see a higher quality of matches just in general, but like you have mentioned, we saw a crazy game yesterday, our first game that we casted. China has been a known region to have a lot of skirmishes and prioritize that team fight potential. So we might see that coming out of Team China right now, but hopefully.
Definitely going to expect a very high level of play. Now, from the games that I got a chance to watch yesterday from China, they exercised very, very strong laning mechanics. Their 1v1 potential was ridiculous. That's why I want to watch that top lane matchup to see how Blorn does against his opponent. Now, the biggest thing for that matchup is that traditionally Blorn is used to carrying, let's put it that way. Very, very strong. When he steamrolls over his lane, it just, it's a win condition. You get Blorn ahead, and that's exactly what TrinityWorld tried to do yesterday. Now, this time around, not only is he going to have a little bit more resistance there, but the big struggle that I'm looking for is, can China close out these games? It's something that, at least over the games yesterday, they had a few problems with, so we'll see if they can get that underway. Just like we are underway with our first game of the day. It's going to be China versus Russia here in our first quarterfinal match.
Just looking at summoner spells, Mundo decided to run Flash instead of Exhaust, and we see Echo here coming in with Teleport, while Echo's Vladimir is running Ignite instead of Ghost, from what we've been seeing the last time we saw Vlad in a competitive game and running in the mid lane. So I'm excited to see how that's going to turn out. Probably wanted that Ignite for Mundo health regen for his ultimate, since Soraka's running Exhaust.
Now, the way Grievous Wounds work, it does affect self-healing, but it doesn't affect incoming healing. So Soraka is still strong through Ignite, whereas Dr. Mundo is still very, very affected by it. So a lot of items to counter Dr. Mundo. You can see even the Vayne pick there by Darker might be looking to say, hey, we don't want Dr. Mundo to be a super threat later on, so percentage health true damage, it's a good stat to be able to put down onto that Dr. Mundo. So early strategies, you saw a bottom half of the map invade there by China. What were they really looking to put down?
So they're just, like you just saw, they're checking to see if they're lane swapping or not. That's a lane swap word right there, to see if the incoming players are going to be using standard lanes or other lanes. Since in terms of China, in terms of speaking with China, they have a better bot lane matchup just in general. Vayne's a very hard champion to win trades pre-6 or after getting that power spike. So, but we see double jungle starting here from red side, and now, Fiora just walking up top.
Now, double jungle was something I was going to ask you about. How does that work here in pre-season 6? There's been a lot of changes to the way that things work in the jungle. What's the best way to go about that?
Well, double jungle and whether the top laner leashes or a bot laner leashes now has a lot to do with what kind of strength, what you want to put it in which lane. Just because of that, you no longer can, just dodge jungle and just TP back into lane. You lose so much EXP just due to the jungle changes in general. It's better to just walk up top, so the top laner sacrificing a little bit if he's trying to leash there.
Oh, a few missteps there by Torres, dashes forward, but at least for right now, a relatively even lane matchup in all situations. We've got to keep an eye here on the level 2. You can see Teacher walking forward. He's going to pulverize right before he hits level 2, so I don't know if that's going to handle his cooldowns differently, but at least for right now, nothing too crazy. The big, another big lane to watch will be Eka in the mid lane versus Even. Vladimir traditionally very weak early on as his cooldowns are high. He doesn't have all of his spells until level 3, but as he scales up, especially that level 9 power spike, he's going to be very, very strong. Hard to stop that split push if that's the strategy they want to go for.
And one of the things I wanted to mention, as you mentioned, Blorn's been more on those carry sort of champions like Irelia, Jax. However, now he's on Gnar, and I feel like this pick is to create zones during team fights in which Vayne can deal free damage, and here Gnar losing trade a little bit.
Oh wow, you're going to see a lot of damage down on the Blorn. He's forced to flash away. The cleaver over the wall just barely misses. Bottom lane, we've got some action going on there as well as Teacher is the recipient of a nice gank coming down there. But as Ignite walks away, there's still a few more pokes being put on there. What is Blorn up to? He is solo. He's walking back towards the turret. Another missed cleaver there. I'm not sure if Destructor is going to stick around there. What's going on there? Destron, he's just throwing those cleavers.
Hashtag outplay.
I mean, I guess you can call it that. I don't know if that's outplaying or it's more just Blorn sticking around a little bit too long. A lot of focus, a lot of pressure there, and NRF very strong in that early matchup.
Yeah, I was probably trying to get a little bit more steps, trying to reset the wave, but ended up being pushed to the turret anyway, so now NRF has that teleport advantage over Gnar.
Teleport advantage is going to be very good. You can see Blorn just hopping around, trying to use his abilities, get as many last hits as possible. He actually only missed, I think, 1 or 2 there under turret, but he's also going to get the advantage of killing that ward under turret, so bonus points, I guess.
Yeah, mid lane matchup right now, I think it's going to be pretty static. It's very hard for Mundo to gank Vladimir just because of his pull in general. He's probably just going to try to pull the wave and try to push, try to clear it and then just push it back again. It's going to be story. I want to see how this bot lane is doing right now. Vayne actually has CS over Tristana, and probably due to that strong laning from Soraka.
That's one of the things you'll be seeing over the course of this lane phase. The longer it goes, the better Soraka is to have as a champion, because Darker can tumble around, make those trades that may not necessarily go in his favor, and then just get healed up. And to be fair, Soraka does have higher mana costs, if I'm not mistaken, so that's not going to be quite as spammable as you might have seen it be earlier. But for right now, we haven't seen too much utilization of that heal. It's just a fairly passive lane phase in the bottom lane, despite that level 2 power spike that we were talking about from Tristana Alistar.
Right now, at least try to go for a lane gank, but the wave was pushed too much. It's one of the things that you have to communicate with your jungler about wave management before a gank, so telegraphed, I bet. Mundo just walking around. Well, I want to talk about how he gave the blue away to Echo, so he has a little bit more sustainability, can do, since with the mana pots being gone, previous patches on. So
now Eka going in for the kill there. He's going to pool underneath the turret. You're going to be seeing some shields coming in. Effort goes down. Eka getting first blood in the 1v1 now. Unfortunately, that cleaver is going to come in and end his 1v1 with a, I guess, a secondary 1v1. There's Even. Gets a little bit of revenge there with Destron coming in. Make the score 1-for-1, and Even getting one. I don't know how you necessarily underestimate that matchup quite as drastically, but Eka, that's the second time this tournament that he's been able to 1v1 his lane opponent and come out on top.
Yeah, in competitive gaming, that's the biggest aspect. It's like, do you ever are going to get solo kills? That tells a lot about the matchup and the individual plays that they're making and the individual players and their individual talents. So it's very exciting. It's really weird to say Mundo had more effect on this game overall generally in the 6th minute right now, but he's actually higher level just because of that kill that he got.
Now, you know he's coming back for this. Ward over the wall there, and we might see a smite fight down there, but top lane, we got some action going on, and there's the grand challenge onto Blorn. To see a few of those procced, but not enough to pick up the kill. This time around, Eka actually the one forced to pool away as very, very strong even comes back into lane, but see if he can make that lane even as he comes back and tries to win it back.
Yeah, top lane looks like it's very hard right now, though both champions are running double Dorans and the CS is about even, but you're not just losing trades pretty hard. Fiora is a very good champion as of now still, even after the patches. So, but when you pick Gnar, you're not trying to win lane unless you're something like against something like Rumble. You're just trying to be force in the team fight later on, try to communicate how much rage you have, and then try to maybe get place bottom with TP. We see Elise coming up here is maybe trying for a gank, but I think Gnar's too low for a little bit.
Now, perfect ward timing there by NRF. He knows exactly what to expect as far as the gank timing. But is he going to expect Irugat? Now, a couple of different ways that he can expect to go in on that. You can wait for Gnar to hit Mega Gnar and then go in immediately afterwards. But Blorn is actually very, very low on health as he transforms. And yeah, there's Mega Gnar bouncing in. We're going to see the attempt of the Gnar backwards. Perfect stun backwards from riposte. Even dodging away from the house being thrown at him. Actually, I think that's just a boulder now, but you get the idea. Great play there by NRF, knew exactly what to expect.
Yeah, a lot of changes to Fiora. And do you want to talk about this matchup right now?
Eka, he's been fighting it out. It's not been a passive mid lane by any means. However, just like you said, the lack of mana potions kind of makes AP mid laners struggle if they do use mana as a resource, versus Vladimir, who's always been very, very strong in resource-centric meta. But we're going to see a little bit of a cheeky steal here by Destron as he goes into the enemy jungle there with Teacher, who's going to probably teach TrinityWorld to guard their buffs a little bit better.
And then now they're trying to set up a gank right here in the bot lane against Spain.
Oh no, Darker doesn't expect a thing. His support nowhere to be found, lagging a little bit behind there through the turret, but oh man, Darker could be in a lot of trouble. Ward over the wall, and immediately Darker's just like, okay, I'm backing out of here. Ward is able to get killed off there just because there's a pink in that bush, but Darker very, very lucky to be alive after overextending in that lane.
I don't know, Alistar did have flash, and so did Mundo, so I think they could have gone in a little bit earlier, could have gotten that kill easily, at least slow flash, but...
Ooh, NRF saw Irugat coming in on a ward, but he was still forced to flash away just because he had immediately dashed into the minion wave to get a minion kill, and then he's like, wait a second, I might die to the jungle game coming in. So flashing away there, somewhat avoidable if you see the jungler coming in there, but hey, burning a flash from just walking top lane sounds pretty good to me.
Preemptive flashes are always okay just because it gives you more health so that you can lane better. See now we see a kill angle coming in here. It's going to be a very hard lane for Gnar just in general, and then we see Mundo coming in here top from Destron Wants.
I was going to say, it's a hard lane for Gnar top lane because it's been a 2v1 for the large part of this early game. I mean, we are 10 minutes in, so had a little bit of time to establish some strengths, some weaknesses, and it does look like as far as strengths go, the Dr. Mundo jungle clocking in. You can really see one of the big benefits of Dr. Mundo, not just that he's very strong as a champion, but his clear is ridiculous. You can see he's already got his fully upgraded jungle item, and Irugat's going to have some struggles if he wants to go for that 1v1 in the jungle.
Yeah, right now Team China has complete vision over the red side jungle on the top side of the map, and now they're having so much
is in
pressure.
an interesting spot right now. Blorn is actually pretty low, but oh, here comes even up from the bottom. You're going to see a heal coming in from Soraka. Is going to grant Blorn his wish right now, but Destron trying to run backwards there. Are we going to see that grand challenge come out? Blorn backing away, trying to kite that NRF. He is going to go down Eka on a perfectly timed roam there to turn it around.
I mean, it's a play that they could have went for, but they knew that the mid laner was coming up, and they knew Elise was there. So I don't know if that's something they wanted to do, try to proxy dive at 11 minutes into the game. They didn't manage to pull it off, and then Eka and Blorn attempted to turn around, and they did it. They got it done.
For all of that shenaniganry up in the top lane. Wait, did he even just ult? Yeah, he ulted to get blue buff. I guess it's a short cooldown anyway. Got to get that somehow, but he's able to kill off the blue buff, come back into lane, and I guess one of the big things for even Z1 is able to do that very, very quickly after, you know, coming back from base, using that ult in a kind of tricky way. Gets the blue buff, heads back in the lane, and we're starting to see some common trends start to develop. Eka is on point. We've seen that every game that Russia has played so far. In the game that they lost, at least from what I heard, it was due to a kind of snowball effect starting off in the bottom lane that really didn't work out. Not sure where Darker was going there, but he is forced to flash away there. Summoner heal still saved, so he does have that available. But more important than the Summoner heal is the Soraka heals. They're going to get Darker back to almost full HP there in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, the thing about the Soraka lane is you have to either all in, probably on the Soraka, just so she cannot heal the AD carry back.
Irrigot finds Destron there in the jungle. Teacher coming up there. Great silence there, but it's going to be a flash. The pulverize, the knockback from the headbutt, and oh my gosh, this repel cannot last long enough. Comes down, and the Itsy Bitsy Spider is washed down the water spout. Once again, top lane got action going on as Blorn facing off against a very difficult matchup, and here is NRF taking him down.
Yeah, it is generally a very hard matchup. I feel like it was bound to happen at some point, the way that we saw the trades going. It was very nice teleport usage by even without his ult, he was able to get that kill. Nice flash, had flash pulverize headbutt back. Thing about Echo, the thing I wanted to talk about, and the thing I already talked about in the beginning, was that summoner spell difference. Is that he's running that teleport, so he can actually make a difference way more and has the roaming potential way more than Echo's running Ignite.
To be fair, Ekka's Ignite did get him that first blood, so even though he died right afterwards, he's still putting gold on his champion, and it's a very strong champion, strongest one on Trinity World. He's 2-1, and by far the most gold in the game there. 5,000 cresting that mark here, just 1337 seconds, or I guess that's 1337 time in the game. But now we're starting to see a few things change. The landscape of the map, well, changes. We've got the bottom turret being destroyed, so now all of a sudden it's time to rotate that duo lane, and so Vici Gaming have decided to send their duo lane top lane to lane against the poor Blorn. I feel like he's been in a 2v1 for most of this game, whether it's Dr. Mundo marauding his lane, and now he's just got two champions pushing it in. And now another rotation deep into the enemy jungle. We'll see what the Chinese representatives want to...
In all honesty, I feel like he'd be better 2v1, trying to 2v1 that lane, but instead of going against Fiora. But now, yeah, we just saw Fiora move down to the bot lane. Now she's going to start split pushing her biggest strength. She can do, she's a very good duelist, can outduel anyone, is able to get away from a lot of the collapses. So I'm excited to see what this split pushing Fiora can do as the game continues on.
Keeping an eye on the top lane turret. Minion wave cleared, not strong enough there by Blorn to be able to keep it alive, and pushing it on in. It's going to be the second turret of the game going down to China, because he, once again, Destron's up top lane. He wants to take out Blorn, who will hop right over him, but is that going to be enough distance to put away? Blorn should be forced to flash here over the wall, but yeah, there he is. Headbutt actually over the wall, doesn't have to flash, but he's going to go right into Even, who's going to take him down. Irrigot will repel. There's a nice silence field. Irrigot trying to stay alive there. Even right on top of him, takes him down. A nice emo play coming in from Eka, but will he be able to escape this alive? No! It is a 3-4-0, a 3-for-1 exchange. Avenger did die there. Now Darker going down to Even as well after struggling through the lane phase. It's a 2-kill score there for Even. Nice roam up top lane by China.
Yeah, this all comes from the vision control that they have over the red side jungle in the top lane. Blorn should have backed off. That tower was not going to be saved. He was maybe trying to get some experience off of that, but the greatest strength about this Chinese team as I see this game continue on is that they're able to collapse on team fights immediately when it happens. You see mid laner coming up, jungler immediately coming up all the time. Eka managed to get a very good 4-man ult, but there was no one else to follow up afterwards, only been able to get Tristana and turn it into a 3-1 team fight.
Yeah, very important to have follow-up on the Vladimir ultimate. It's great if he wants to use it to pick up 1v1 kills like he did in the beginning, but its real strength lies in team fights later on because your team just deals percentage more damage. And seems like a pretty good way to win fights to me. However, just a few seconds too late, and great positioning there by Even. He was right in time to counter Blorn's escape path, and even though Teacher did headbutt him over the wall, trying to save him there, it was right into the waiting prey of Even. He was able to pick up that kill, and of course one other to follow. So now we find ourselves about 15 minutes into the game, and oh, Iru got a little bit of struggle. He is trying to escape Even, who does get stunned out there on the other side. Really great cocoons from Irugot, even if they have been forced to be used defensively.
Yeah, so just to talk about the team comps in general, China's looking for more picks in the jungle. That's why they've been trying to ward up as much as possible, trying to get, while they're trying to move up for objectives, trying to get picks on these lot of less mobile champions like Soraka, Vayne. We saw at least getting caught out there a couple of times, but what here Trinity World needs to do is to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt. They haven't had a proper 5v5 team fight yet, and once that happens, it's the job of the Gnar and Vladimir to create zones so that Vayne can deal free damage while Soraka's keeping that ADC alive. So you have yet to see that happen in this game, but it's still it's mid-game right now, but it's still early in the game, so we might see that happen later on as we progress throughout this game.
So one of the big strengths for Trinity World over the course of Russia's games so far has been Blorn. Now that he's 0-2, hasn't really completed his first major item yet. That's a lane that might cause Russia to play a little bit differently. They do have a lot of wave clear mid. Ekka's able to just push that over and over again, and I wouldn't be surprised to see if Ekka transfers into more of a split pushing role on the side. However, in keeping with Blorn being a little bit behind in the top lane, you gotta look towards that bottom lane. 80 carry matchup. Vayne not really super pressured, but at the same time, down like 40-45 CS in that matchup, and Avenger just so strong.
I mean, Ekka can split push, but again, he does not have teleport. While this Chinese team can properly 1-3-1 right here, it's a very good composition to 1-3-1 push, running both top and mid laner into side lanes, and having Tristana, Mundo, and Alistar, who's not going to get engaged, who's going to get engaged but has good escape and great disengage also.
Now, we talked about a couple of strengths in the jungle from Dr. Mundo. Once again, the first, kind of the debut of Dr. Mundo here in our broadcasters games at IESF. And one of the strengths comes from not just being a strong champion, but his jungle clear. You can see, if you just look at the CS, 30 CS difference between the junglers, and Irugot, to his credit, is playing very well on his Elise. He's landing a lot of cocoons, but they just have not been capitalized on, unable to find a lot of gank success here. Now, waiting around this Dragon pit. Dragon is live, but gotta keep an eye on aggression there. Blorn still up in the top lane. He's left to split push. Both top laners do have teleport available. See how effectively it's about to be used. Even's actually just gonna get a free turret mid.
And this is that split pushing potential that's coming out from these very great duelists and fast pushers. Now China's getting dragged off of this just because of that tier 2 mid turret going down. So things looking very good for China right now.
Yeah, Blorn forced a recall out of that top lane before he was even able to split push down his turret. And 0 turrets, 0 dragons, 0 objectives there for Trinity World. Just getting started kind of off the wrong side of the bed, the wrong foot. You walk a mile and somebody I don't know how that's Today is apparently not a good day for metaphors either, which is the consistent struggle. But now over pushing here, Trinity World about to get engaged on a nice Hemo Plague, but doesn't catch everyone. Even able to get back into the fight there, and he's actually able to assassinate Ekka. There's Blorn up in the front lines, but not sure if all that Soraka healing is actually going to be put to use there. He's going down. The reset's coming in. We've got an Avenger in there for 1, 2, 3 kills going to, actually it's 2 kills going over to Dr. Mundo, 3 there for Even. And even though those resets came in there, Tristana actually got kind of robbed of all of those kills. A full 5-man ace for none, and that's going to be a Baron over for China. Yeah,
so that was a 5v5 team fight that I was looking for. Blorn did a nice job creating that zone, and so did Vlad, trying to create space for the AD carry to deal some free damage. But however, Echo just got into the back line, just one-shot everyone, and still managed to get out there alive. So great team fight coming in here from Team China. And what you were talking about earlier about difference between Mundo and Elise, the junglers, even though Yeah, when we're picking junglers in this meta, we have to think about what they're trying to do in the game. Elise is a very early game-oriented jungler whose power spike comes from the level 4 when he has 2 points in that queue. Very strong. However, as we saw this game progress out until 20 minutes here, we saw Mundo having way more effect and way more impact than
Darker's
Elise.
in a little bit of a rough spot there, flashing back away there, trying to get the damage down, but just cannot escape in time. 4 champions from China just converging on his positioning down there. Saw hallmarks of that earlier on when he was kind of overextended without vision to find out if he was safe or not. Same situation there, just getting collapsed on, and that vision control from China this game has been absolutely ridiculous.
Wonderful vision control and warding up both their jungle, both on the top side and the bottom side, not letting them able to push that vision up, so not letting them farm up at all. Trying to push, they're taking this inhibitor turret really fast right now and could get this inhibitor as well.
Oh, they're definitely going to get the inhibitor. Darker dead for 3 more seconds. You don't want to fight what would have been a 3v4, 3v5 actually, considering that both Eka and Born were up in the top lane. But now the second inhibitor about to fall there. Born looking for an opportunity to engage, but he's not even close to Mega Gnar. Now, as the, I guess, pseudo 280 carries, if you want to count Blorn and Mini-Gnar, continuing to try to poke things out here. I'm not even sure if they're really going to find an opportunity to engage. There's a little bit of slow there, but an ult back in from Even. We've got Avenger jumping in. They're looking for the kill on the Blorn, and they will find it. Avenger jumps way into the back line, but Darker, beset by that jungle Mundo, is not in a great spot. Avenger flashing back in, and Darker is down. Iru got dead there as well. It's a double kill for Avenger. NRF there for the a kill for himself, and I don't think this game is going to last a whole lot longer. Eka doing his best to defend, but with all but 1 member left alive for Team China. Damage coming down onto the Nexus. This is going to do it for game number 1 of our quarterfinal best of 3. China taking a 16-4 victory over Russia.
Very clean game for China. Team China coming out of this first game of the series. Utilized their lanes very effectively, split pushing using the double TPs. Which is very, overall, probably one of the better snowballed games out of all the games that we've seen at IESF.
Right, very well played there from China. We're going to take a quick break before we come back with game number 2. China versus Russia here in the 7th Esports World Championship. Thanks for watching. Stick around. We'll be right back.